We are live. Back in the game, YusefWateef, my buddy Lawrence. We were talking and you said, hey, tell me about Sao Paulo, Brazil, and this and that. And I said, listen, a lot of people ask me that question. Instead of me answering the same questions over and over again, I can do this and have everybody just check in or say things if they want to say them or ask. And for anybody who hasn't been on this channel before, we talk about, you can tell me, Lawrence, you pop by 3 things. Generally, it's international living. Like I live in Brazil. A lot of my friends live in other countries. Money, investments, things like Bitcoin and mutual funds. And the last thing we talk about is a lot of social stuff you've been part of. You've seen in the sideline. We do some pretty heavy duty conversations. So I tell everybody that if you're listening to this now, to click subscribe, because even if you don't like what we're talking about now, or I piss you off, which may happen, you'll like something later. And I tell everybody to subscribe for a month. If after a month, I'm not what you're looking for, I don't want anybody to stick around. But we have some pretty good conversations here. Is that a fair assessment? Am I blowing my own horn too hard there, Lawrence?
No, I think that's pretty accurate. I think most of the conversations that I listen to on your channel are pretty interesting. And I definitely get different perspectives that I'm not used to hearing. So that makes it really interesting.
Peace, brother Art. Art's going to come by. We're going to have a very interesting chat. He's a brilliant art guy, and he's a complex soul, but we'll talk about him later. So you told me, you said, what? I have a bunch of questions. You said, I have a bunch of questions about Brazil and where you live and Sao Paulo and all that other good stuff. Start at the beginning.
Okay, well, my first question to you was, how long have you been an expat?
Ooh. I did an article a couple of years ago that I wrote, but I have lived outside the United States well more than half my adult life. I'll be 43 next year. I honestly don't know the exact number. I know that I started young. I started traveling, and I would do things like I would get a scholarship from school that would allow me to go to Australia for 6 months or to another place. Even inside the United States, I got to do a semester in Hilo, Hawaii. I got to do a lot of those things. So how long have I been an expat? Let's call it solid. I can say a minimum 13 years of my life, probably more, but I'm trying to be conservative. If you're just saying living, not visiting, but living in other countries. I've lived in 15 countries across 5 continents.
Okay. Well, what made you choose Brazil, specifically Sao Paulo?
Well, here's the thing about Brazil. I was living in Shanghai, China, and I decided I wanted to go someplace new. I train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I like a few different things, and I decided that Brazil was where I wanted to go. I hadn't been to South America yet, and I'm fortunate that I get to live my life in a way that allows me to just go if I want to go. You know, and I've been here for 4 years.
Okay.
You're taking notes? Am I being interviewed and I didn't even know it?
No, I'm not taking notes. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't ask the same question twice. So I have
no problem. I like you are just organized. Most people come on and just, hey, whatever. You came with a mission.
So specifically Sao Paulo, though, like, what was your thought process to pick Sao Paulo specifically within Brazil?
When you come to Brazil, you're going to hear about 3 cities generally. You're going to hear about Salvador, which is a very well-known place, heavy Black population, one of the first stops for slave ships. It has a heavy music and culture, music and food. It's a place that I might go later when I want to have that house out in the countryside and just wake up and, you know, do all those relaxing things that I'm being told I might want to do when I'm older. Then you're going to hear about Rio. Rio, and I say this without being disparaging, I would actually say Rio is a fun city, but Rio is not where the business people go. If you are doing something that has direct relation to education and business, you're coming to Sao Paulo. That's where the educated people are. That's where the money is. If you're an entrepreneur and you want all the benefits of living in Brazil and live in one of those cities that can, you know, for my business, I always tell people, and actually I'll get it out of the way early this time. I'm an editor, copy editor, proofreader. People hire me, for example, let's say you had a newspaper, a magazine, a business contract, and it needed to be done in university level English or translated into university level English. That's what people hire me for. Sao Paulo has the clientele that can do that. I tell everybody to catch up with me on LinkedIn. I'm who I am. My name is YusefWateef. I don't have a fake pseudonym. Anything I share with people is because I've lived it. When you go to my LinkedIn profile, I say skip all skip all the, what do you call it, the resume part. Don't look at that first. Go straight down to, look at it later, but go down to the recommendations. This is where other professionals from around the world that I have done business with stand up for me and say, he is someone who's on that level. He is someone who I trust with my reputation, with my money, going all the way back to when I was a financial professional. This is how I earn all over the world. So when I decided Sao Paulo, it was heavily because I needed to come to a place where I could continue being a businessman that was successful. So that's why I chose Sao Paulo, and it has a lot of great things to show for it. Thank you, rating woman. How's that for an answer?
That's great. That's great. That's great. I forgot what my next question was going to be, but I'll just. So if I were considering coming there to live in Brazil, anywhere, I understand you say that Sao Paulo is where the business is held done, but did you take any test runs before you went there to live? Like, did you go and visit?
No. No, I hadn't. When I came to Sao Paulo, Brazil, I did a lot of referencing early. I have friends that live here. I did a lot of research, but I'm also fortunate that I have a business that, I tell people 2 generations ago, I would have traveled the world with a rifle over my shoulder. And maybe 2 or 3 generations before that, I would have traveled the world with a broadsword over my shoulder. Now I just throw my computer in my bag, throw it over my shoulder, and I can go earn my bread anywhere in the world consistently with the skills that I can bring to market. So for me, I didn't have as much to worry about. I was also an experienced traveler, so I'm able to do things like that.
And how much of a command of the language did you have before you stepped foot in Brazil?
So this is what I did. I studied on what's it called? Duolingo. And I tell people all the time, Duolingo will not teach you fluency in any language. What it will do, however, is teach you how to read. So when I got here, I could read a food menu, I could read a bus stop, I could read the train, I could just not get lost, things like that. So that was my level. And when I got here, I'm actually not as fluent as I should be because my career is completely in English.
Okay. Well, as a traveler, how much of the language am I going to need to get by? I mean, as a specifically only an English speaker, how much problems will I have if when I travel there?
What's up, Howard? Second, here's the thing. If you're coming for a holiday, I would say you'll get by with your phone and Google Translate. If you're coming for 2 weeks of just to enjoy Sao Paulo, Brazil, tonight I'm going to give you some places and things to do where just learning the 5 big ones. I always tell people, learn how to say please, thank you. The 5 things everyone should learn in any language. Please, thank you, I'm sorry, because you're going to mess up. I think the food from your country is great and the women from your country are beautiful. If you can say those things, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Brother Hafez, hey, welcome. If you can do those things, you'll be fine. Because here's the thing. I'm only going to give you information on places that I would go, places that I would feel comfortable taking anyone in my family of any age to, things that are going to be fun to do and exotic. But I tell people all the time, I'm a square. I do things square people do. I go to cultural events. I go to art events. I go listen to music outside. I go to places where the events and the vibe aren't necessarily there or inaccessible if you don't speak the language. You'll be fine. For 2 weeks. Okay. Now, if you said, hey, I'm going to be there 6 months and I need to get going, then, I'd be cracking the whip saying, hey, I want to get you, personal one-on-one classes of Portuguese. I want you to do this and that. But if you come for 2 weeks, you'll be fine.
Got it. Okay. I guess that's it for my initial questions. I don't know if we want to the next and I can pepper my questions in.
This is way more serious than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to chat around. You got the pen, the paper out. You got it broken down.
Maybe I'm making this too serious. I'll put the pen and paper away.
No. This is you be you. Do you. This is what I will say. Here's the thing. Like, here's some places that if you're coming, because you're thinking about coming for what, a week or two? I'm going to give you
about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
About a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm going to give you some high profile places, right? One place you could probably spend an entire afternoon. And because I like food, let's start with food, right?
Yes.
The municipal market of Sao Paulo. And why am I going to talk about this place? Because this is a great place. I call it scrounging a free exotic meal. The municipal market of Sao Paulo is this giant place with nothing but rows and rows of food, fruit, vegetables, fish. And when you walk down, everybody will give you a sample. So you can start on one side with all these different fruit. And, oh, can I sample that? Can I sample that? Work your way down to the meat section. Oh, can I have a sample of that? Can I have a sample of that? Work your way down to the cheese section. Can I have a sample of this, a sample of that? Now, listen, anybody who watches knows I was the fat kid growing up. And a lot of these guys that serve food and some high-end delicacies, they can still sense the fat boy inside me. So they walk up to me with these nice cuts of beef. Like, you know what? Taste this. I know you want to buy some. Oh, isn't that good? And I'm like, no, stay away from me. And then I end up buying some. So this is someplace I definitely would say we will go early in the morning and you can take a lot of great exotic pictures. And, if you have a YouTube channel or anything like that, you can go in and just really enjoy that. And that's the municipal market. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Raining Woman said that's an all-day event for her. She'll just be standing there mooching off everybody. Art, he says, I couldn't how cold it was in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo's not cold. I was born in Niagara Falls, New York. I know what cold is, but depending on where you're from. Let's see. Oh, she loves Stroke My Ego. I'm not going to let you miss this comment. Shout out to one of the best new black male content creators at YusefWateef. Thank you so much. Where else would I say is a great place to go? Now I'm going to tell you something else. It's definitely an all-day event, especially if you go on a Saturday in the summertime. Have you ever heard of Ibirapuera Park? No?
Never.
It's 158 hectares. It's the largest park in South America, I believe. It's enormous. If you say, I'm going to Ibirapuera Park, I'll put it this way. It's this big. It's got a planetarium inside. It's got, I think, 4 full-on, pavilions for concerts. It has, you can go down there on a Saturday and rent a bicycle or go with your skateboard or just walk it. And they have trails. You can walk as many miles as you want. And every place that you walk, they have different things. So you might see in one corner people singing and dancing. You might have another corner where there's a full-on children's fair. You might have another corner where, antique firemen do their antique fireman shows with all their old trucks. Here's one of the interesting little places. They have a very clever little overpass where all the skateboarders go and they set up their skateboard cones, and you see a lot of people practicing, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's one of those places you can go every day and do something different. I mean, you can definitely go every day, do something different every day. And in the summer, especially, get yourself one of those giant cocoa gelatos. It's a coconut, except it's not a coconut that you know about. It's a coconut that here in Brazil and in South America, actually, let me show you guys a picture. This is a real coconut. It's not what you thought. When you go to a tropical country and they actually give you a coconut the way a coconut should look, that's a real coconut. It's green. They chop off the top, and the best ones, they pull them off the ice chest, and they get it from the bottom of the ice chest. So when you cut it open and drink the coconut water inside, it's ice cold. Oh my goodness. You haven't lived until you've been walking in the park with your sunglasses on, being cool, drinking one of those. That's just, that's the life. That's the life.
Looks good. Looks very good.
Museums. Sao Paulo has some great museums. I'm going to give them to you, and I'm actually going to start at the Museu Do you see the motorcycle guys outside?
I can hear them. Yeah.
I am someplace near what I think might be some kind of a private or hidden road, because there shouldn't be someplace near my neighborhood or my apartment where they could do that, but it's hidden someplace. There's a place that is a must place. This is a place where if I have a friend coming and they say, you know what, I've only got one day, I've only got one afternoon. What should I do? Where should we go? This will probably be the first place that I take you. It's the Museu Afro-Brazil. That's the Afro-Brazil Museum, cultural icon. It's a museum dedicated to the beautifully complex history of Black people, everything from the slave trade to their lives in Brazil. It can be as light as you want it to, just going around seeing different exhibits and things that were made by Black people, and everyone goes and sees the costumes and the things and different representations of different religions that came with slaves. Then you can get to places like this. This is an actual slave ship. That ship. Yep.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That's a slave ship. It's a great adventure. You can take pictures everywhere. You can practice your reading in there, because when you read descriptions of things that they did and have, this is one of those places that if you have only a couple hours on a layover from an airplane, this is where I'm going to drag you to.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm definitely going to. Hey, Rating Woman, got to go do a podcast. You know what I'm going to tell everybody? The cool thing about YouTube is that there's room for everybody, right? So just because you're listening to me, I always advocate for my friends, and I tell people all the time, Reigning Woman, when you're done here, go listen to her, right? Yeah, here's her channel. Totally different from mine. She's a little more calm than I am, you may be able to tell, but I want everybody to check her out as well. Where else? Let me think. Because there are several museums inside the park besides the Afro-Brazil Museum. They're good. There's the Museum of Contemporary Art, all kinds of museums like that, but they're worth walking through and seeing just in a day in the park. I can't even tell you what's going to go on in the park that day. A lot of these giant concert halls have some stellar acts, and you can go online and get tickets for free because it's part of the cultural give back of the city of Sao Paulo. There's also the Teatro Municipal, which is the municipal theater. Let me show you guys. This is a grand building. Look at that thing.
Oh, wow.
Look at that thing. You can go inside there and see everything from plays to cinema. And one of the things that they often do is they'll say, hey, we're having this opera or this famous singer or this famous play is coming, and you can buy tickets earlier, or 1 hour before showtime, we just give out free tickets. Kind of a give back to the community. And it's one of those things, definitely worth it. Definitely. This is not too far from my house. Definitely worth it.
Okay.
Also, the front is just a place where everyone from all over the world, even people who haven't been inside, go to the stairs to take pictures. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot one of the most glaring things in Sao Paulo, Brazil. There is a place called Avenida Paulista, which literally translates into Paulista Avenue. It is a legendary street that has everything on it. It's got a couple of museums, it's got restaurants, it's got food, it's got a couple of theaters. There's a library with a secret study room that you can't get to if you don't know. I'm not even going to talk about that here, because if you don't know, you don't know. There are a couple of places here. If you look here, there are two overpasses, right? And there are cars going under it. The angle this is taken from is one of the most famous picture pose places in Sao Paulo. You'll actually see people line up respectfully with their cameras. You see everybody from a regular family to professional models who wait just to stand in this one spot to get this really cool picture. And also, if you go to Avenida Paulista on Sundays, they close the streets off. And it becomes a giant walking fair street every Sunday. You might see in one, look at this. You might see in one area people breakdancing in the street. You might see in another area clown brigades. You would see, oh, this is one of my favorite. You know that underpass I talked about? High wire acts. People do high wire acts there. I've seen people fall and have that emergency line catch them. You can stop on the street, get whatever. This is something interesting. I've never drank alcohol, but a lot of my friends are shocked to come to Brazil and realize, wait a minute, I can just buy alcohol and walk down the street drinking it? Like, as long as you're responsible, because if you mess up, the cops will get you. They will put a foot in your behind. But yeah, this is Avenida Paulista on a Sunday. It's one of those places you go, I don't say as soon as it opens, I would say go around 10. But at the same time, you got the sun. You know, when that sun is out, you got your sunbrella up, you're constantly drinking water, but just walking up and down there, you know, you see everything from two old guys sitting, you know, drinking their coffee together to people with kids showing them all the cool stuff. There's always a couple of Michael Jacksons. Always a couple of Michael Jacksons there. Let's see. What am I gonna? Oh, here's one that I don't know. Let me see. I'm trying to think of some, because this is the thing. There's so many things to do. I'm actually trying to narrow it down to Careless Whisper. Careless Whisper. Let me back up. Careless Whisper. Are you new to the team? I apologize if I don't remember your name. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe. But let me know in the comments, Careless Whisper. Who are you? Where are you from? How'd you find us? Let's see.
So you mentioned a lot of things so far. If I can just jump in real quick.
Yeah, well, you can jump in anytime.
Oh, okay. So do you, as far as transportation between the different things, do you recommend Uber versus public transportation versus renting a car?
I wouldn't rent a car. The driving here is just like any giant city in the world. Uber is your friend. It really is. I mean, Uber is the best thing that will ever happen. Here's one place I'm going to tell you about that's also a great culture place. There is a place that we'll go to called Avenida Luiza. Okay, you can catch them on Facebook. Here, I'll give you a glimpse of their Facebook. Actually, even better. Hold on. We can go here with images. It is a Black cultural haven. Everything from artists who do everything from poetry readings to song and dance to just Friday night parties. It's a great place for anybody. Became most famous as a place where Black people and also the intersection, there's a lot of queer stuff that happens there where they can go and be safe and have songs and dance. And there's a woman named Erica, and I can never pronounce her name the right way, Erica Molonguinho. And she's a Brazilian politician, elected to Congress in 2018. First transgender person elected to that place in over 180 years. And she is the person, the heart and brains behind Avenida Luiza. Definitely a cultural force to be reckoned with. So I want everybody to definitely, let me see here. There, that's Erica Molonguinho. And I definitely want everybody to take a chance out at one of the big parties they have. They have food there. The parties spill out into the street. It is so much fun, and again, no matter what time of night it is, it's a totally safe place. There's just this atmosphere of food, parties, singing, dancing, poetry. People come from other cities and countries to perform there. It really is worth it. That's an amazing place to go. Jump in. I don't want you to have to be polite with the questions.
Okay, so is there a particular section of the city that you recommend that as a tourist that I stay in if I'm doing a hotel versus Airbnb, that I can get the most bang for the buck without, not breaking the bank, but like getting nice accommodations and being close to things?
Well, let's do this. Hold on. Let's do this real quick. Let's see what the US dollar goes to for Brazilian real right now. So we're talking about breaking the bank, right?
Right.
$1 US is 4 real 11 centavos. That's a huge differential. You'll get a lot of bang for your buck. Now, as far as where to stay, I'll give you a couple of neighborhoods. I would say República for Airbnb.
Hold on, something happened with my sound. Just bear with me for 1 second.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
All right, I'll just deal with it. Something happened with my sound.
Now you're chopping up.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You there?
Oh, okay.
Okay. I would say go to República, that area, for Airbnb. I would say also Santa Cecilia in São Paulo, this area. It's good for getting an Airbnb. Now, here's a couple areas. One, I would say Bexiga, the Bexiga neighborhood. It's where I live, this area. It's got a lot of old Italian restaurants. Again, great place for Airbnb.
Okay.
I've got a few friends who are Airbnb people, so whenever we decide on a date, I'll make it a point to give you some of my personal connections. Of course, I'm not going to put them out here because I don't need the world and people I don't know using those connections.
Oh, thanks. Not to bounce forward too much, but what about if I want to go to a gym or something like that when I'm out there? You have any recommendations for that?
Oh, a gym, yeah. One thing I love about about Brazilians is they're a vain people. Around the corner from my house in Bexiga, I can say 1 block this way, there's a kickboxing academy. If you go down 2 blocks to the left, there are 3 different gyms. One is my gym. It's just a straight free weight blood and guts gym. The other one is a little higher up. They've got mats. They do different exercise programs with hammer strength machines. Then you've got a 3-level, really posh, a fitness academy place. Whatever you're looking for, they've got it. People here like to look good. They like to exercise. They like to feel good. You getting a gym will, let me tell you something. It's not going to be a problem at all. Matter of fact, you could actually come with me to Ibirapuera Park, which has an outdoor gym, as well as other places. I'm a big kettlebell person. How about you? Have you ever done kettlebells? I do that I like that on the weekends to supplement my regular, how would I put it? Exercise program, exercise regime.
No, I don't know anything about kettlebells. I mean, I've seen them, but I don't know.
I'll show you
kettlebell routine.
On my Instagram. I'll show you me doing the most fundamental exercise on kettlebell. Hold on, watch this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. This is the kettlebell swing. One of the most fundamental exercises with a kettlebell. It is very basic. And the thing about a kettlebell is you have one kettlebell and you use it for almost every exercise. It's a very versatile piece of equipment that I have only fundamental training with, and this is one of the basic warm-up and cool-down exercises. It uses so much of your body. You're throwing with your legs, hips. You're actually not letting it go up too high. You're stopping it there. And it's an exercise that everyone can do because everyone has a different kettlebell. Everybody has a different weight of kettlebell that they're using. And that's a cool Saturday morning to go outside and do that.
Okay.
Now here's something else that you'll really enjoy. I like Carnival season. Let me back up for a second. I like Carnival season, not necessarily Carnival. I've been to Carnival in Rio, Salvador, Sao Paulo. Carnival is great, but it's a little, in my opinion, the best time to see Brazil and the music and the dancing is the 3 or 4 months leading up to Carnival, because that's when you have things like the ensayos. These are the technical practices. You get to see them do songs and dance that might not even make it to Carnival, because Carnival is very, how would I put it? It's very touristy. It's the biggest, coolest things. But I will tell you, if you want to go see something interesting, I would take you on a Friday or a Saturday and we would go to an ensayo and go to see one of the big practices where they also do fundraisers. So let's say for $10, you can get a plate of food and see some of the best singing and dancing really ever. Now, hold on a second. Let me show you. I've done a few. Let's see here. I have a list called All About Brazil on my YouTube channel here for everybody who subscribes. It's also, I've done one, Brazil Carnival and Golden Roses, Samba with the legendary Vai Vai. I do these videos while I'm there and I show the world what it's like. Hold on, let me go one more stop. On my Instagram page, I'll show you a little bit of one. Let's see, where is it?
So Carnival's in February, right?
Stay with me. Go ahead.
I said Carnival's in February. So if I were to come, just say like sometime December, January, I would be able to see them practice leading up to all the dances that they're going to be doing during Carnival.
Yeah, we would definitely go hit that. Start at 8 or 9, get home midnight 2, and you're covered in sweat because it gets hot in those places. Hundreds of people dancing, playing instruments. Then there's the crowd. And the thing about the ensayos, people bring their kids to these. It's just that kind of environment.
Okay.
How am I doing? Am I selling my city pretty well here or no?
You're doing a great job.
Cool.
So if I were to come and I wanted to split my time between Sao Paulo and say another city like Rio, what would you suggest the split be? $50-50?
Here's the thing. I would actually, what we'll do? I have a friend come on to talk about Rio with us to give you some of the points out there. Am I partial to my city? Yes. Rio is a totally different city. Different atmosphere, different vibe. What I will do is have a friend of mine come on and we will talk about Rio really in depth. and they'll give you some of their thoughts on it. Now, here's the thing. If you've never been to either one, I definitely want you to go to both. You know, do I know the ins and outs and nooks and crannies of Sao Paulo a lot? Yeah. Yeah. But I have other friends who can give us a lot more in-depth detail on Rio. So let's do that. Let's plan some time for Rio. And by the way, thanks to everybody who's popped in to watch. Please, everybody, make sure you click the subscribe button and the bell and the thumbs up and all that. And share this, because I tell everyone, share it on your Twitter or your Instagram or wherever you do business. Share it on you can contact me on any of those services. I tell people, share it on their Tinder. Put it on your Tinder profile. Hey, we both swipe right. Why don't we talk about something like this afterwards? Give them something to talk about. But yeah, this is what I would say. Let's have a different chat about Rio. Let me get some real aficionados of Rio de Janeiro and go from there.
Okay. So are there any, like, you gave me an outdoor market, a couple places to eat food. Are there any other must-see places surrounding eating?
There are some must-eat things. Like there is a dish that is a Brazilian national dish. I want to be clear. You can only eat this like once a month unless you just are gluttonous and you just want to get fat. Feijoada is good. It's tasty. It has every cut of the animal that has the most fat and flavor smothered in beans with rice. You know, I mean, it really is that good. But you can't go eating this stuff and thinking it's just gonna be okay later. It's not. This is a general spread. When we go to the restaurant with our friends, they'll plop one of those down on the table, giant thing of greens on one side, a few different crunchy pieces of pork, rice. Ooh. Yeah, it'll get you where you're going fast. Yeah. And I know people that do this for lunch. For lunch, they'll have it. I'm like, I wouldn't be able to function with my clients afterwards. Look at that.
That looks like something that will put me right to sleep. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah. You'll just fall over. halfway through your after dinner coffee, you'll just be like, man, that wasn't bang, fall out.
So are there any areas that I want to avoid while I'm in Sao Paulo?
Here's what I would tell you. I'm sure there are, but these aren't places that I would even know about because I'm a square. I do cultural events and music and fun and food. I lift weights and train jujitsu. If there are bad neighborhoods, my group of friends wouldn't even be the kind of people that would be like, hey, let's go there. You see what I'm saying? So I'm sure there are, but here's what I would tell you. No matter where you go, make sure you are cautious, because here's what I think. I have never seen anybody have a gun pulled on them or a knife pulled on them, but I'll tell you what has happened. People walking around with their phone. Look, Mom, I'm walking outside in Brazil down the main corridor of Avenida Paulista. There are thousands of pictures, and then some enterprising kid says, that phone, that's worth a lot of money. Boom, brrr, book it down the street. I know people that's happened to. That's what you have to be worried about. But as far as someplace you're going to go get robbed, I'm not in those kind of places anyway. Side note, shout out to any travelers out there, wannabe travelers, starting travel. If you go someplace and somebody says, hey, do you want to go see the real fill in the blank? You're like, no, why would I? I'm being serious. People are like, we should go see the authentic. Authentic what? You mean the place where people get robbed and the police harass them? I don't live in those kind of places.
Got it.
You know, You know what I will show you? Hold on a second. I want everybody to see this. Let's see. I did a really, really short chat on called Brazil Violence and Danger, where you are. And I want everybody to check that out. Live, Brazil Violence and Danger, where you are. People always say, hey, is it safe out there? And I tell people all the time, any place you are, particularly if you're Black, is safer than you being in the United States. And they said, but what? Isn't there racism and police violence in Brazil? I said, absolutely, absolutely. But now, here's the crazy part. Ready? Stay with me on this. If I'm going someplace that I shouldn't be among a group of people that I wouldn't hang out with in America, I'm in danger. But if I am in a regular neighborhood, in a regular place, there's no chance of that crazy stuff happening to me. But here's what a lot of people do. They decide they want to go to a part of a country that they weren't even born into. That buzzword, prepare to get triggered, folks, people of that particular class, and they think, I'm going to go hang out among my peers. Well, let me tell you who my peers are. They're the educated Black people that make a difference. They're not, and there's no crime in being poor, but I never grew up in a housing project. Why would I go to one in another country to be among the real? My real is people who can go to nice restaurants, have nice things, and discuss how they're going to change the world around them politically and through activism. So don't be one of those people. And don't ever let anyone tell you how other countries are violent. Because remember, correct me if I'm wrong, even in the comments, people, I can't think of another country where going to the movie theater or shopping at a supermarket could end up with you dead at the hands of a probably white American, middle-aged, I'm giving you an FBI profile that you don't have to like it, just randomly shooting people, not just Black people, mind you. I'm not saying they only kill Black people. I'm saying, can you give me an example of another place where you're in the supermarket, in a regular neighborhood, or in a shopping mall, or in a movie theater, and somebody just pulls out a gun and just starts just randomly shooting people? Do people get shot in Brazil? Absolutely. People in their peer circle who are in that life with them, just like most other countries. But everybody wants to pretend like America is safe. Well, no, you're not.
Yeah. That's a good point. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, most people don't. Careless whispers from the mid-Atlantic region of the USA. That's not what I meant. Not what region you're from. Like, how did you find out about my channel? How did you, come in with this? Are you a subscriber? That kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what I was saying is, people will say, isn't Brazil dangerous? Well, absolutely. If I went to a dangerous neighborhood, I would be in danger. So, what's popping up in your brain?
I was hearing open up a map of Brazil to see where Sao Paulo was on the map to see if there's any coastal. Is there a body of water near it? I don't know.
Nope, not Sao Paulo. What I would do is I would say, if you're going to split time between Sao Paulo and Rio, you fly into Sao Paulo, and then when you do your transfer over one night, you take the midnight bus from Sao Paulo, 6 hours to Rio. Then you get to
Rio. What are we talking about for the midnight bus?
Huh?
How much are we talking for the midnight bus? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know, a few pennies. You have American dollars. I don't know, 20, 30 bucks.
Okay. All right.
You'll be fine.
Just wanted a reference point. That's all.
So you can get the bus to Rio, get to Rio in the morning, or let's say leave at the 2 a.m., that's the thing. And I apologize. I don't mean it to sound as if they are foolish questions, because there are none. I'm glad to be able to do this. Okay, here we go. Careless Whisper said, subscribe, love the content, Brazil on my bucket list of places to visit. Hey, there's no reason you can't come. Make it a priority and do it.
That's where I'm at. I'm excited to come down there, man. So is there anything else that I need to see?
There are tons of things that you need to see. What I'm doing is giving you guys the TLDR, short and dirty of, if I've only got a week, this is it. Now, I will give you a couple of things you can do, and I make no money off this, but I'm going to show you guys. There are a couple of websites, like, well, I'm trying to think of some in English. What I'll have to do is try to find one or two in English, but I think one in English is it City Guide? There's a couple of places online that just have information on Brazil, you know, and you can go and, oh, look at that. If you want a beach, come to Espírito Santo. Da-da-da. They got great beaches there. Let's see. And what I'll also say, if you want, you know, more information on like Espírito Santo or any of those other places, or I think Vitoria as well, boom. Here's a channel. I want everybody to definitely take a chance to, you know, like I said, there's room for everybody. Go to that page. Subscribe there as well. Check it out. Good information.
Okay.
Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. So. What's going through your mind?
No, I just opened up a map to see where Espírito Santo was, just to have a reference point.
She said it's a smaller city life as opposed to Rio or Sao Paulo. Yeah, some people don't want the hustle and bustle and the madness. Just to be able to come home after work, go to the beach, and just kind of hang out in the water. That's not a bad sell.
So do you see yourself retiring in Brazil? Or are you?
Well,
I know you're technically retired now. I get it.
Well, retired is a tricky word. Do I find myself thinking, will I live in other cities in Brazil? Yeah. What will I do there? Don't know. Don't know. You know, that's the thing. I don't know.
And you say you've been there about 4 years. So have you been to many of the other larger cities? Or have you been concentrated in Sao Paulo?
São Paulo, Rio, Salvador, Foz de Iguazu. Where's Foz de Iguazu? Oh, that's another place. But yeah, there's not. That's not going to be on this list. But one of the places that I definitely want you to go if you come back longer term is this place, Foz do Iguazu. I was born in Niagara Falls, so I've always enjoyed looking at falls. Foz de Iguazu is just beautiful. I've been through that city. Where else? Let's see. A couple places. Kudu Juice says, been to a couple of small towns outside of Rio. They're nice. Yeah. And you have a very different vibe. What a lot of people don't know about Brazil is this. This is an interesting insight. It took me a while to figure it out. Even though I live in São Paulo and my friends live in Rio and these giant cities, Brazil is mainly rural. The cities aren't really that big. But there are a couple of cities that are enormous. Like the city of São Paulo. Let's look at this. São Paulo population. $12.2 million. That's the state. Hold on, São Paulo city. Oh, I was wrong. That was the city. 12.2 million. It's one of the largest cities in the world.
It's larger than New York, right?
Well, Let's see if we can find a quick number. Oh, look at that. You have no idea that, yes, it's larger than New York.
Wow.
So let's say 12.8 versus, it's not just a little bigger, it's more than 50% larger.
Wow. 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 That's amazing.
Sao Paulo is one of those cities where you can get anything any time of day. You know?
Yeah. And not to harp on the safety thing too much, but would you say Sao Paulo is safer than Rio or Salvador, or one of the largest cities within Brazil?
I would say Rio is not as safe as Sao Paulo. It's just a very different. Let's see. Hold on. Let's look at F. Control F. Sao Paulo, number 11, right out, barely beaten out by Mumbai in the top 10 largest cities in the world. I've lived in Shanghai before, Tokyo before, and now I'm in Sao Paulo. But look at that. Mumbai, India, 12.4. Sao Paulo, 12.038.
Wow.
But the sheer numbers we're looking at in these cities. And they're mega cities, meaning they'll keep growing because what ends up happening is they get large and they soak up a city that may be next to it. John Nothing. Magic? I don't understand that. Belo Horizonte is a nice medium-sized city. It's not near the beach. Yeah. Kudu Juice, yeah. Yeah, Belo Horizonte. São Paulo is safer because of the separation of favelas and the metropolitan part of the city. Bang. São Paulo is a city. It's like a lot of other cities. You have different neighborhoods. But from what I understand from a layman's perspective, the way a friend of mine who was ex-U.S. military explained it to me, Rio is shaped like a bowl. And whereas in most cultures, the rich people live at the top of the hill, because the beach is at the bottom, that's where the wealthy people lived. Also, they have pushed out, again, Black people that were not allowed to incorporate at the end of slavery, poor people, poor city planning. You had people who literally built their own cities in the hills, in the rocks. So here's the problem. Those places called favelas, from everyone I know that's lived in those places, they said they're 99% safe. In many places, dirt poor and safer than living in the city. The problem is, just like any population, you're going to get a few criminals. Those criminals have a place that is impregnable to police and law enforcement because they're totally unincorporated. Because they were built by hand into the mountains, it's kind of like a friend of mine who served in the United States military out in the Middle East. He said, you're going into war in mountainsides that are older than written history with people whose families have lived there since before Europeans left Europe. So if you weren't born there, it is not figuratively, but a literal certainty you don't know where you are.
Got it.
Look at the size of those things. So it creates a situation where if you are a bad guy, you have a place you can always run back to. John Nothing said, I was wonder if it was Magic Johnson. Do you have any family in USA that you would like to come and visit? I'm trying to understand that statement. I wonder if that was Magic Johnson. Do you have any family in the USA that you would like to come and visit? I am so confused with that statement. I apologize, John. You have to be clearer with that comment for me. Yeah, you got me. You got me on that. I don't even know what that means. Brother Lawrence, can you help me understand what that might mean?
I don't understand.
Okay, so it's not my imagination. Okay, well, let's do this. Mm-hmm. He also said, do the women treat you better out there? I'll answer that question in two parts. The short answer is no, women treat me great everywhere I've lived. One of the things that's interesting is I did a post called Easy Brazilian Women that I hope everybody gets a chance to go back and look at. But one of the common misconceptions that a lot of men, and I'm about to get on my soapbox on this one, a lot of men who aren't willing to do the work believe there is a magical paradise where you can do no work to be a better man and still get quality women. I can tell you, this is something I can tell you, 15 countries, 5 continents later, there is no magic place where that's real. Now, you can come someplace to find a woman who you can pay to be with you. And listen, if you're living off your wallet like that, there's no problem. There are plenty of great relationships throughout history where his only job was to pay for stuff and she was with him. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is people wonder that if there's some magic place like Brazil where you can just go and not have your shit together and get a decent woman. No, there's low-hanging fruit everywhere. Don't get me wrong. If you're a guy who's not willing to build on those pillars of manhood, now I'm going to get on my soapbox again on this one. If you're not willing to become physically competent, no one says you have to be some bodybuilder or Brazilian jiu-jitsu ace killing people on the mat. If you're not willing to become financially stable, it doesn't mean you're rich. It just means you understood the value in saving 15, 20% of your income for a long time because it gives you the freedom of saying there are certain things I won't do for money. And if I want to do something different, I have a cushion. Or if I need to provide something for someone that I care for. If you're not willing to do the hard work of saying, what do I have outside of my social situation than if there were no women? Are there things that I can create with my own hands, with my own mind? You know, are there those things that you can do to make you a man that women are willing to open their hearts and legs for? If you're not, you're gonna be a loser in America, Brazil, where else did I live? Tokyo, Singapore, Malaysia, England, Australia. It doesn't happen. So one of the things that I will tell you, though, if you are willing to do the work, you become part of the smallest minority of men anywhere. The guys who are willing to do the work are rewarded for it consistently by feminine women everywhere in the world, regardless of language. Lawrence, you want to jump on that one?
I've heard you say that before, and that sparked a bunch of interesting conversations within my social group. I think you had a video. You said a woman would rather have a piece of an outstanding man than all of a mediocre man, or something like that.
I think what the quote is: women would rather have all of an amazing man. I mean, part of an amazing man than all of an average man.
Yes.
I think this is what we're talking about right here.
That's what I'm talking about. That has sparked a lot of interesting conversations within my social group.
Well, thank you for sharing it.
That's when you asked me if I shared any of your podcasts, that is the one.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope everybody shares it. Look at this. Men and women are the same everywhere. It's totally dependent on your personal quality. If you're good, you'll be good everywhere. Game. John Nothing. Oh, it looks like John Nothing has some comeback for me. He says, if all the women are the same, then why leave America? Aha, but your premise is flawed. I've never gone anywhere for a woman. I'm gonna let that one sink in. I've traveled the world because I want to climb Mount Fuji in a thunderstorm. I've traveled to Spain to do the running of the bulls in the street. I came to Brazil to have access to some of the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu coaches in the world. But I've never gone anywhere looking for women because, again, if you're willing to do the work, they'll just be there.
You've done the running of the bulls in Spain?
Yeah. It's a young man's game. And I'll tell you why. It's not a matter of physical competency. You have to have a level of reckless stupidity in your life, because when you're running and you see 6 bulls that weigh 1,400, 1,500, what is that, 700 kilos, their horns are as big as my arm, they come to a sharp razor point, that fear sets in, that you feel the street moving underneath you, and you see guys start to have that panic. Like, mortal fear is something most men, fortunately, go through their whole lives never feeling. maybe fear of losing something, fear of getting an ass kicking, but mortal fear where you're in a situation where you realize this could kill me. I saw guys tripping each other, elbowing each other in the face. I saw a guy, when the bulls make a turn, you're supposed to stay on the outside of the turn because the way bulls are, they can't make a sharp turn. They're not rabbits. So they always slam to the side that they go on. I saw a guy get caught on the inside. He jumped to try to avoid the bull. The horn missed him. The head hit his kneecaps and turned his legs into cherry paste.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
I saw a guy get hit by the head of the bull, and it was kind of like, anything that it touched, it just broke. It hit him in his side. He's lucky if it only broke his ribs. It probably broke a lot more.
Wow. Sounds gory. Doesn't sound as appealing as it looks on TV.
On TV, they don't show people the real. They're not trying to scare you off. They want those tourist dollars. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on a second.
So back to Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
You said you moved there for the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school?
Not just that, but I'm saying I'll give an example.
Gotcha.
What about you? What is your training like?
Pardon me?
What's your training like? You talk about.
I lift weights. I go to the gym. Not very serious about it. It's something I've got to work on.
Continue.
Let's see. I don't know. I've been doing that strongless 5x5. It's ironic you sent me the link for that, but I've been doing that.
Listen, for people who don't know, again, strong lifts, and this is the one that he does. There are several different things you can do that are great for weightlifting. I have a particular program I do. He has one that he does. Strong lift 5x5. Let me tell you something, folks. It's not exciting. It's not fun.
When you're consistent, you can definitely feel yourself getting stronger, though. It's definitely effective.
Yep. People don't understand that strong lift 5x5 is legit. It's legit. It'll make you a strong man. I actually tell people go to their main website. And we'll wrap up here because what I want to do is we got some other stuff to handle. Strong lift 5x5, getting stronger, lifting weights 3 times a week. It is an old program. It's a boring program. But I know, guys, 3 or 4 months of this, and you start to turn to that bull. So before we wrap up, I think John had something to say. John, I understand what you're saying, but I ain't leaving no country where there are no women. That's me. I ain't leaving to no country where there are no women. That's me, though. I apologize if I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but it says you won't go to a country where there are no women, but I don't know of any countries where there are no women. So that seems... How about this? That's another conversation for another day. Lawrence, are you going to come back and we'll do this about Rio?
That sounds terrific. Let's do it.
All right, brother. Thank you for everybody, and I'm glad everybody popped in. I'm glad to be able to give everybody this bit of information. Okay?
Thanks for having me on.